Hello everyone and Assalamu alaikum. This is Introduction to Psychology Part 2 by Dear Knowledge. Okay, so this is chapter 3 and it's all about learning. We have covered lots of topics in the chapter of learning. So, if I give you a quick recap, before giving you a quick recap, I wanted to share a chapter overview with you all. Here you can see on the screen, this is the chapter overview, and we will be covering all these topics because these are very important in the chapter of learning. And I would consider the chapter of learning incomplete if any of these topics is missing in the chapter of learning. Now, come to a quick recap. Now, there are lots of topics that we have covered in the chapter of learning. In the lesson 1, we learned about the definition of learning. It was very detailed. And if you have missed that topic, I've given the link in the description section. Go ahead, click on that link and watch that video. So if you want to start the chapter of learning with the proper sequence, I would suggest start it with the lesson 1, which is about the definition of learning. Then lesson 2 is about the types of learning. And in the types of learning, there are basically two types of learning: the classical conditioning and the operant conditioning. Now, since this was getting very detailed, so that's why I divided lesson 2 into different parts and every single part into further different parts, so it will be easy for you people to understand and digest the topic easily. So the lesson 2 part 1 was about the classical conditioning, and we have successfully completed the lesson 2 part 1. It was detailed and I tried my level best to include all the important topics in the part 1 about classical conditioning. So again, the links are given in the description section. If you're still facing any problem, ask me in the comment section about any of the lecture you want to watch, any of the video you want to watch, and I will share the link of that video, that lecture with you people. You can also visit the playlist section where you can find all the previous lectures. I have compiled all the previous lectures in a proper playlist for your ease, and you can also visit my website www.dearknowledge.com, or simply just type dearknowledge.com and you will get to my website. It's very simple. There is no complexities over there. Just click on the watch online and there you will get all the lectures in a proper sequence. Still, if you're facing any problem, ask me in the comment section and I'll be happy to help you out. Now in this video, this is going to be lesson 2 part 2 about operant conditioning, and we will be starting the lectures on operant conditioning from this video. So this is going to be lesson 2, types of learning, and part 2a, which is going to be operant conditioning. Again, operant conditioning is going to be very detailed because I want to add all the important points, all the important lectures in this chapter. I want to include all those important points. You don't have to search here and there, wasting your time. So I want to include all those lectures for you people on one single platform in order to save your time as well. So this is going to be the part 2a, operant conditioning, in which we will be learning about what actually is operant conditioning. Now, since I told you that we will not only study the psychology, we will also apply it on our daily life. We will also apply it on ourselves so we can learn something and we can take benefit of what we are learning. So this is operant conditioning, or in short, we can say, what is in it for me? So there are two kinds of behavior that all organisms are capable of doing. One is involuntary, which is reflexive, and the second one is voluntary. Now, classical conditioning is a kind of learning that occurs with reflexive involuntary behavior. And the kind of learning that applies to voluntary behavior is called operant conditioning. And it is both different from and similar to classical conditioning. Now, if we talk about the difference between the classical conditioning and operant conditioning, So, in classical conditioning, subject learns to associate two related stimuli with each other, whereas in operant conditioning, subject learns behavior by associating it with consequences. Now, classical conditioning associate involuntary responses and a stimulus, whereas operant conditioning associate a voluntary behavior and a consequence. Now, operant conditioning. So the word operant in operant conditioning refers to operant behavior, which means any behavior that is voluntary. Now, in operant behavior, stimulus or stimuli can be aptitative or aversive. Now, aptitative stimuli are the ones that you voluntarily approach, while aversive stimuli are those you try to avoid or escape. Now, responses to such stimuli can either be positive or negative reinforcement. Now, in this case, positive and negative do not mean good or bad. Instead, positive reinforcement means introducing stimulus to increase the probability of recurrence of behavior, while negative reinforcement involves removing the stimulus to encourage good behavior. Now, let's learn about a proper definition of operant conditioning. If you talk about the definition of operant conditioning, so it is the learning of voluntary behavior through the effects of pleasant and unpleasant consequences to responses. So, operant conditioning was first described by the B.F. Skinner. He was having a behaviorist approach. So, operant conditioning was first described by a B.F. Skinner. Operant conditioning is also sometimes referred to as instrumental conditioning. So, in other words, you can say it's also called operant conditioning, and it is also called instrumental conditioning because it involves our operant behavior as well as it also involves some instrumental things. So, operant conditioning or instrumental conditioning, it uses rewards and punishment to modify behavior. And it also creates change based on rewards and punishments. And the main purpose of operant conditioning is to promote good choices and deters the bad choices. Now, motivation relies on choice rather than instinct alone. So, the heart of operant conditioning is the consequences on behavior. Behavior that is rewarded is likely to be repeated, and behavior that is punished will rarely occur. Or you can say any behavior which leads to a positive consequences is more likely to be repeated, and any behavior that leads to a negative consequences is less likely to be repeated. So, in operant conditioning, learning depends on what happens after the response, which is also called the consequence. So, in operant conditioning, learning is totally dependent on what will happen after the response, or what will happen after response, which is the consequence. And we can also apply the operant conditioning in the behavioral therapy when we want to modify the behavior of a person, we want to remove the bad behavior of a person, or we want to promote a good behavior of a person. So we also use operant conditioning technique or the instrumental conditioning in behavioral therapy. So, in a nutshell, operant conditioning could be summed up as this: if I do this, what is in it for me? So, in the next video, we will learn about the Thorndike's puzzle box and the law of effect, B.F. Skinner, the concept of reinforcement, and many more. So this was all about today's video. If your concept is clear, don't forget to give us a thumbs up because it encourages us to bring more useful content for you. Also subscribe to my channel to become part of our Dear Knowledge community and smash the bell icon so you can stay updated of the upcoming 100% free lectures and quizzes. You can also share these lectures of our channel with your family members and friends because sharing is caring. Until then, Allah Hafiz.